Ahmina Maxey. I was part of the Detroit to Dakar delegation. And I don't know what everyone spoke about before I was up here. I was at the door. So I'm just going to talk about my personal experience and how it affected me.
Sounds good.
The experience that affected me the most was being on Goree Island. We went to Goree Island on our last day, and Goree Island was where millions of slaves passed through, you know. And so these are pictures from when we were there, and it was very, it was really bizarre how touristy it was. I mean, you see people out posing like at the door of the return, and like it was just really kind of off-putting. But the part of the experience that was really strong for me was there's a slave house where, like Will talked about, where they had, or someone was talking about the multiple rooms where they used to house the slaves, and leading up to the door where there's like a long, there's a hallway, and then there's the doorway that used to go to board the ship. The part where your feet touch the doorway was like smooth as glass. You know, just from all the feet that had walked over it, but it was at one time had been rough like a stone, and so that was just really powerful. And also, it was they had rooms that lined the door, these long like holding cells where they would have the slaves before you board the ship, and it was really hard while we were there because the whole slave house, which is really small, was full of like 100 people. It was packed full of people. I think because it was the Saturday after the forum, so I think a lot of people had come that day, and so those rooms had a lot of emotion in them, I think alone, just from all the people that had passed through it. And so that was one of the strongest experiences for me. Also, just being in Africa, being African American, I grew up in Holly, Michigan, which is very homogenous, very white. I now live in this area which is very homogenous, African American. But for me, being in Senegal, the first few days was just like amazing, just because it was like it's different than when you go in Detroit. I always know I can cross 8 Mile, or I can cross Telegraph, I always know that there's somewhere else I can go where I'll see faces that look different than mine. But to be amongst the majority was in a kind of a different sense. I can't even explain it, but that was very powerful for me as well. And I mean, it was just a great trip. I'm not going to talk much more, but those are the two things I wanted to share. So thank you. We created ourselves amongst that space. And so what I learned a lot is that colonialism and, you know, white supremacy and European modernity, however you want to word it, a lot of countries have had the same influences, and just the way it's played out is just different. Like, you've seen a lot of pictures I took of posters of women with weave, because that's what resonated with me. Everywhere you went in Africa, I mean, there was no natural hair, no natural, out of black women. There were no locks, there was no twists. Everyone had their hair either as a nice straight
Barbie epic
perm, in a weave, or in braids. But I'm saying that to say that.
And who was doing that?
All the Senegalese women, every single Senegalese woman had her hair.
It's a Parisian.
Yes.
$8 billion a year.
It's a French thing.
It's a multi-billion dollar thing.
Yes, exactly.
And women also, some women use spin lightening cream so that their skin would be lighter.
Lord.
But I was just saying that to say that everywhere we have the systematic takedown or takeover of countries, people try it everywhere. Like right now within our city, it's happening. You know, they're trying to take over the city with the emergency financial manager, with the council by districts, with the right sizing. Because if you think, this is what I always say, but if you think about it, now tell me now if y'all would have passed council by districts.
No,
nobody would have done it.
We
right?
didn't vote for David.
And the thing is that there's a it's like a checking off mark. It's a step by step by step by step. And now it's clear. Before it was maybe a little murky, but it's about how we react to it. And so I think that with what's going on in Africa, I just wonder, and I wanted to pose this to our delegation, but then also